introduce myself first for the video. So I'm Corley-Ann Parker. I'm the communication specialist with TXSG grant and kind of general shark nerd. So I'll be asking the questions and just getting some more information.
I can go. Hey, I'm Dani. I also work for TXSG grant. I'm an oil spill specialist, but absolutely a shark enthusiast, shark nerd, any of those adjectives. I will gladly be part of a shark anything. So I have a little bit of background in shark research and fisheries. So excited to talk sharks today.
I'm Dr. Kesley Banks. I work at the Center for Sportfish Science and Conservation, and I study sharks for a living. So I'm also part of that shark nerd group.
Woohoo! Well, I guess let's get it rolling. So the top kind of question, umbrella question, I guess, is there's a lot of myths about shark behavior. Like we've all seen the movies and everything. What's the most common shark behavior myth you hear, and why would it be untrue?
So probably the most common one that I hear is that sharks are out to get people, and that's not the case. We're actually not on their menu at all. Most of the time, encounters are by accident. And so to go along with that, the other thing is it's actually not a shark attack. That implies that the shark is actually looking for a person. It's actually just a shark bite because they happen to make a mistake and think that we're prey or we're food and we're not, which is why sharks don't come back for the second bite usually. It's they bump and bite when they look for food and to like figure out what they are. So they don't have hands. They can't figure out what things are with their fingers. So they use their mouths. And so that's what the bump usually is. And then if it reacts, which we will because we were bumped, then they come back for a bite. So we're actually pretty safe in the water and we're not on their menu. Usually that's the first question we always get is, so we're going to get eaten, right? And that's not the case.
Cool.
I think that's a great answer to that. People are always, they're out to get me. They're not. I call them little puppies. I think they're adorable. And when you're swimming with them, they might be semi-curious, but more often than not, they're kind of wary of you and they'll swim away. So it's always interesting to learn about their behavior. They can be curious, bump and bite, they're hungry too. But absolutely, they're not out for people. We're not on their menu. They're not as scary as media makes them out to be.
For sure. Are all sharks considered apex predators? Like, is every shark considered an apex predator?
Not every shark. So there are some sharks that are filter feeders, like the basking shark or a whale shark. And so they're not necessarily considered an apex predator, although they are very important to the ecosystem as well. But as a general rule of thumb, they are all kind of lumped in together like that. You do have some species that are also considered more mesopredators. So they are food for other sharks or bigger prey. Like a blacktip shark might be more of a mesopredator than an apex predator, but they all kind of fill that role at some point in an ecosystem. But kind of rule of thumb is they all fall under that category. But they, depending on the ecosystem, that may or may not change.
Nice. I think so many people were asking that. I think they're thinking of them as like every shark is this big, scary shark, like a great white, or something like that.
No, recently they discovered the pocket shark. Like,
Hey.
Shark right there makes you think big, scary predator, right? No, yeah, it's super tiny. It looks really cute. So
oh my gosh, I need to look that up. I didn't know about this.
Oh yeah, there's the pocket shark, the ninja shark. There's all sorts of new species out that are in the smaller realm. They're not all 20-foot great whites.
Cool. So this next question is actually like from me. I was curious because I had heard rumors. Are sharks attracted to a certain color? Is there stuff out there that says that? Like I've heard people call there's like a shade of yellow that people call like shark bite yellow, right? And I always wondered if that's like, if there's a reason behind that, or if that's just like total myth.
So that's pretty much a myth.
Mhm.
To a singular color. That being said, the whole reason shark bite yellow is called shark bite yellow is usually because when bump and bites happen, it's in not crystal clear water, right? Muddy waters. And shark bite yellow, which is a neon yellow, seems to be a contrast for that dark, cloudy water. So all they see is something that's very distinctly contrasted.
Mhm.
So they're singular color. That's not the case. What you do want to maybe avoid when you're swimming is stuff that might be reflective. So it looks more like a fish scale, or very contrasting colors to whatever water you're in. But again, that falls into this accidental kind of bump and bite. They're not looking for humans. And so there is no singular color. I will say some early research by Eugenie Clark did suggest that sharks can be trained to distinguish between colors and push a certain color to receive food. That's some early research that did happen with colors, but most everything else is not. It's not color based, like, oh, it's yellow, let me go get that. It's just that's very distinct from the background. It contrasts very well. And so then they're attracted because, oh, maybe that is a fish. Let me go see what that is.
Absolutely. Yeah, their eyes actually can only process like sort of light dark. They don't pick up that color the same way we do. So they see sort of shades of gray.
Oh, cool. Nice. To follow up with that one, is it true that sharks can really smell blood from miles away, or is that kind of like a movie thing?
No worries. Okay, so I'm a big fan of sort of the terrible shark movies just because I find them entertaining, but they are certainly not accurate. No, they can't. Miles and miles away. No, absolutely not. It's about a quarter to a third of a mile or so that they can smell blood. And remember that human blood and fish blood are made up of different things. And so fish blood is an absolute like dinner bell trigger. They're like, oh yeah, like when you smell your coworker making popcorn or something like that. Like you can distinguish the smell. And so sharks can smell blood. Yeah, roughly about a quarter of a mile to a third of a mile away. But our blood smells different. So people are always worried about like their blood in the water, and it's a different smell, a different trigger to fish. But it is a fascinating instinctual behavior. When you do put a drop of fish blood in a pool with a shark, they sort of immediately switch into that prey drive food mode, which is fascinating behavior to them. But yeah, blood in the water, not like the movies at all. But they've got to find a way to get their fish or their food, so they can smell fish blood, and their sense of smell is really good. And they do rely on it to sort of find and hone in on where their prey is. Before they sort of switch to visual, and then they'll actually shut their eyes before they eat something, which is really cool. So you see the videos on Shark Week where their eyes, it kind of looks like their eyes roll back in their head. They don't actually roll back. They have a membrane that rolls up to protect their eyes when they're feeding. And so then they'll switch right back to smelling things when they're trying to hunt down their prey.
That's really cool. I like that didn't even compute for me. Like it makes sense that, human blood and fish blood would be different, obviously, but that's really interesting. I mean, is it true that you can hypnotize a shark?
So they don't actually become hypnotic. Actually, what happens is you put them in kind of like a sleep trance, and that's by rolling them over onto their backs. So that's not something that they're usually used to. And so a lot of times researchers will do that to kind of help keep the shark calm while they're having to do procedures or take measurements or whatever. But it's considered a hypnotic state, but it's not the same as like you going to see a hypnotherapist and getting, we don't like hold a shark, a watch and be like, all right, follow it. It's more kind of a calming state.
Cool. Yeah, don't bring your pocket watch to the beach in case you see a shark. Basically.
And it's not as easy to roll a shark over as you would think.
No. They don't want to be rolled over.
I can imagine. This is one that a lot of people kind of submitted to ask. Is it true that all sharks have to stay moving to stay breathing and then therefore stay alive? Like, do they all constantly have to move?
No. Some species can actually pump, so they can pull water in through and over their gills. But a fair amount of sharks are ramp breathers, so they do have to be swimming to breathe. But like a nurse shark does not have to. There's a couple other cat shark species that do not have to, that they can, it's called pumping. And they essentially do kind of what you would see like a moray eel do or something, where they just like force water through their system over their gills.
Oh. So those are all the questions like I had compiled from people. Are there any other like kind of myths or common questions you guys get that y'all want to like address or talk about?
I think those covered the majority of what we usually get asked.
Yep, I think that's a good one. You always see the sensationalized side of sharks, but look a little bit deeper into them. I think that's my favorite part about them, is sort of understanding their physiology or how their body works, and they're completely unique in that sense. I had a lot of myths back in Mississippi about sharks pee through their skin. That was always a unique one. They do not. They don't. That's not how they work. But actually, they do have these two chemicals in their body that smell. And so sharks often have this strong smell, and that's where people were getting this idea that like, oh, sharks smell so bad. But like it didn't work that way. They actually have these chemicals to help them balance in the salt water. So if they didn't have them, they would sort of always be getting unbalanced in salt water. And so this way they have these two chemicals that helps them balance out water. And so it's unique to them. It smells funny to us. So that was a big one I always got as a teacher in Mississippi. I don't know if you counter that in Texas at all, but
yeah, we get comments on smell pretty frequently. Yeah. The other thing we always get asked is, are you safe swimming? And the answer is yes. Texas is a very healthy shark population, but if I do what I do with sharks every day and I've never been bit, then you're fine just going to the beach and participating in swimming and your beach activities. That being said, most shark bites are provoked. We did something to ask for the bite or encourage the bite. Divers come up and they think, oh, let me, touch this shark. That's provoking a shark bite. Versus, same thing with recreational fishermen or commercial fishermen. You catch one, yeah, you wouldn't enjoy the hook in the mouth either. That's not to say you can, control what bites your hook, but that is also considered provoking. And so unprovoked bites are actually pretty rare. And so most of the time when you hear things like that, oh, I got bit, there was other factors that caused that. So we also like to encourage people that just be aware of your surroundings when you're going to the beach, but you're very safe swimming. I've been doing this for 10 plus years and I've never been bit. And I promise you, I'm considered provoking because I'm tagging. We add satellite tags, we bring them on board, we take measurements, fin clips, muscle plugs, and we're very safe about it. So you're safe swimming. Don't ever let the fear of a shark in the water stop you from going to the beach. That's not the case. You're more likely to get stung by a jellyfish than get bit by a shark.
True.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that kind of wraps things up, I guess. I'll be in touch with both of y'all. Thank you again. I'll talk to y'all later.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.